If you're new to running or just starting back after a long period out, then listen up because I am here to help today. Before you head out of the door and embark on some impressive distance or some crazy pace, well, make sure you watch this video. Today, I'm going to be explaining how far and what distance you should be running for that first run and how to build your running up from there. Right, first things first, we love apps like Strava out there that allow you to track your runs, but also allow you to see what other people are getting up to. What a fantastic idea. However, it can be very easy to get pulled into worrying as to what other people may think of the distances you're running at or the paces you're running at. Now, as you're starting out or getting back into running, this is the last thing you want. You should be focusing on yourself and doing what is right for you. And initially, that actually means doing some relatively unimpressive runs. So try to ignore Strava when you're starting out, or if needs be, close the app altogether. All right, well, how far should this first run be then? Well, if you're thinking 5 kilometers or so, wrong. You are way off. It should be far, far shorter than this. And if you think about it, when we run, we experience around 1.5 to 3 times our body weight through our lower limbs, our joints, our ligaments, and so on with each and every foot strike. And that requires a level of conditioning and adaptation. So if you were to suddenly launch yourself in on a crazy distance, long run, that's an incredible strain on the body that can result in niggles and injuries, but also it's probably just not going to be that enjoyable, meaning you're less likely to continue after that. And of course, we do all have different sporting backgrounds and levels of fitness to start out with. But even for the fittest out there, that first run should not be any more than around 2.5 to 3 kilometers or 15 to 20 minutes if you're working in time. For others out there, there's absolutely no shame in simply running 1 kilometer for that first run and simply calling it at that. Also, it's far better to run little and often as you're starting out, rather than doing perhaps one big run per week and then having a long period of time off between. In fact, I'm actually going to put the reins on even more for you now. I'm sorry, but actually for a lot of you out there, running continuously shouldn't even factor for some of your initial runs. To avoid injury or overdoing things, it's actually best advised that you adopt what we call the Jog Walk Method. Now, the best way and the simplest way of thinking about this is that you're just heading out for a nice, gentle walk, interjected with some short jogs. Now, with time, those jog sections will become slightly longer, the walking sections will become slightly shorter, and you'll do more of those reps of jog walk, and ultimately with time be running further and for longer. And this just allows your body time to adapt and condition itself to the demands of running rather than simply throwing yourself straight in the deep end. So with this jog walk method, you might want to start with something like 60 seconds of jogging followed by 90 seconds of walking, obviously keeping it all very easy, and you can repeat that through perhaps something like 6 to 8 times with a nice walk at the beginning and the end as a warm up and warm down. But as I mentioned already, obviously we're all starting with different levels of fitness, and some people out there maybe starting with a good level of fitness and may be able to skip this jog walk method altogether and get straight on with continuous running, which is absolutely fine, but just be mindful of the strain that running can produce. So therefore, just make sure that you're keeping those initial runs nice and short and building up very gradually, and perhaps even trying to find some softer surfaces to run on like this as you start out. And in terms of distance for these initial runs, something like 3 lots of 2 to 2.5 kilometer runs per week is a good idea, and then the following week building that up to simply 2.2 to 2.75 kilometer runs. So as a general rule of thumb, just trying to follow that 10% rule can be a really good guide. Now, so far I've been advising that you run little and often, but before you get carried away and you've really got that running bug and you start running every single day, I'd actually advise that you make sure you've got at least a day or 2 between each of your runs. This just allows your body time to recover and adapt, and ultimately allowing you to run further in the long run. Also, as you do continue to build up the duration and length of these runs, you're obviously increasing that weekly volume. So I'd actually also advise that you include what we call a recovery week. I normally suggest doing these every 3 to 4 weeks. Ultimately, what you're doing is you're increasing your runs and that weekly volume. You're just following this upward trajectory. Now, if you continue to do that, that is going to catch up with you in the long run. So just making sure that you back off for a week, recover, adapt, and then just picking up where you left off. But what about the pace, the big question? Well, I cannot tell you how many times I've been out running and I've been passed by other runners that I can tell are really new to running. Now, trying to run each and every one of your runs like this, where you're trying to set a PB or come in with an impressive average pace, is not the way to improve. Well, it may to some degree, but ultimately in the long run, it's not going to. Now, you want to be running at a really nice, easy pace, and what I tend to call a conversational pace. If you are running with a friend, you should be able to hold a nice, relaxed conversation with them. You should be gasping for breath, and if that means running just slightly faster than walking pace, so be it. And I'm not going to prescribe a zone, heart rates a day, just simply listen to your body when you're doing this. And if you manage to do that and run at a nice easy pace and gradually increase the distances of your runs, you should never really be coming home from a run feeling exhausted and absolutely tired and on your knees. Well, not until you get stuck into some of the meatier workouts as you get further along the line, but that is to come at a later date. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. Best of luck with your first run. If you have any more questions, please drop them in the comments section down below. Don't forget to check out that Couch to 5K running plan, which talks through the Jog Walk Method, and that will be in the description just down below. Also, make sure you give us a follow over on social media, and if you're not doing so already, give us a subscribe just down below.